This computer. There we go. Excellent. Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Peter Wilson here again. A little bit different to the normal stuff I'm doing. I want to mix things up a little bit for everybody. So what I'm doing is like a bit of an interview, a fellow sovereign of mine and a fellow Peter as well.
Yes.
So the we have the Sovereign Project. All right. And what I want to do is introduce Pete from the Sovereign Project. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Hello, everyone.
So, you know, what we want to do is just have a chat and let him explain all about, you know, what he's doing. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I've been saying this, like, you know, on and off for videos for quite a while, is, you know, we've got to start really building up the communities and not you know, not just our own stuff. It's not about us, right? It's about everybody trying to actually lift up the vibration of us, the vibration of the planet, helping our group and other sovereign groups and every single sovereign group that's out there, or, you know, like I say sovereign, but I mean, you know what I mean, right? The people that are trying to actually like fight against tyranny, that are looking for, you know, we're not seeking our freedoms, we're trying to keep them because they're ours, you know, they're ours from birth. So, you know what I mean? It's just trying to actually help everybody, to help everybody, to help everybody. I'm not into like bitching and backbiting and he's better than me and my stuff's better than him and they said this and he said that, you know, and it's just a waste of time. And that's what they want, by the way, you know, like the whole thing about like divide and conquer. It's not a myth. It's not like something that just have been saying, right? They've been using this for millennia. All right, divide, conquer, make everybody weak, and then they can attack everyone bit by bit. And then they get rid of us all that way. So anyway, Pete, what I'll do is I'll hand it over to you and you can explain, you know, a little bit about your background and how you've come up with the Sovereign Project, etc. And we'll have a chat about it then, yeah?
Yeah, no problem at all. I'll just give a very quick, brief introduction of what the Sovereign Project is really about. And well, let's start at the beginning. I've been researching stuff for, I don't know, 30 years. When the internet was invented, I remember the day, you know, I got myself a little 56K modem and off I went. So every time the news said something, it always sounded wrong to me. So then I'd go off and research it and then find out that the news was lying. And then I just went through all this propaganda. So I discovered the financial system. I discovered how that works, how that operates. It's based around your birth certificate, which is quite shocking when you understand how this trust system works. Anyway, carried on researching, and I think I really got into it about 10 years ago. Very strong, researched everything, nutrition. I was researching obviously 9/11 stuff. I was researching global warming, another scam, emissions, oils. There's no, you know, the oil's not going to run out, all that sort of stuff. Now, the reason I started up the Sovereign Project is we started it, we did the website this year. I think it was about May time or something like that, because there's so many people panicking at the moment with what's going on, what kicked off in March 2020. And it appears that there's so many people out there who do not understand how the law works in any way, shape or form. They're panicking. I mean, one of the things I noticed is mandates. Everyone's panicking over mandates. And I'm going, don't you know how mandates work? You can't be mandated unless you've actually signed a contract agreeing to the mandate. And then the person who can mandate you must have their signature on that contract as well. It's going to be two signatures on one contract agreeing to the mandate. If you don't have that contract, the mandate does not apply and it's a tort, and it can even lead on to a criminal offense. So I'll just touch on common law. I mean, I don't really like using the term common law because it can be confusing for a lot of people, because there's different origins of common law and depends where you go, you know. So I use it as a general term. The sort of area of law that I like to use, or jurisdiction, is equity law. This is the law of contracts. This is the law of notices, affidavits, using the lien process, this sort of stuff. Very powerful stuff, by the way. So, and I've noticed as well, there's a lot of people out there and they're sort of looking for this common law. Well, you're not going to find it if you go looking for it, because basically common law is within. It starts with your own sovereignty. It's your own law. It's your own jurisdiction. So you make the law because you are sovereign. So, and there's a lot of people out there, they're trying to find paperwork, trying to make themselves sovereign. Like, oh, can I get this paperwork and I'll fill it in and I'll send it off and then I'm sovereign. No, if you think paperwork's going to make you sovereign, you're going to be sadly disappointed. So the Sovereign Project is reach out to people who are already sovereign and then try and help those who want to become sovereign. And it's almost like a gateway into the world of law, because there's so many pitfalls out there. There's so many dead ends. There's so many rabbit holes, and people get confused. Another thing that's quite dangerous as well is people are getting all the remedies offline, not understanding how they work, and then they're applying these remedies and then it doesn't work for them and they end up in serious trouble. And that's because you haven't learned the basics. You don't know how the system operates. And that's where the Sovereign Project comes in. So we'll teach you. Well, I don't teach, I just talk, and if people want to listen to what I say, that's fine. That's why we call it a workshop. So I don't teach anything. I just talk about the basics, get you in at the beginning level. Let's just teach you about or show you how the different levels of law work, how different forms of law operate, how contract law works. There's people out there, they think they've got contracts. And I go, you haven't got a contract at all. You've got a service agreement. You've got people out there panicking because they're saying, you've got to get your mindset right. But people are saying, work are making me take the jab. And I go, work doesn't exist. Legal fiction. What do you mean work? Who is making you take the jab? So people think they're in a contract, and I go, you're not. You don't have a contract. If your signature's on it and no one else's signature's on that, you have a service agreement, and you control that service agreement because you're the signee. You've given that document power. You've charged that document. So if anyone else tries to mandate you to have some sort of medical procedure, you go, well, hang on a minute. Where's your signature on this service agreement? I see mine. Don't see yours. And if you understand this and you can work out what a legal fiction is, and you realize that legal fictions don't exist, and you understand that people with titles have a lower status than you, then you can fight back. Then you can fight back. And then you go after the people by name and in person. Whoever it is at work, okay, is trying to mandate you to have a medical procedure, that's the person you go after. Make it personal, and you put the pressure on him. You challenge the obligation, which there is none. You don't have an obligation to have any medical procedure, and you challenge the authority. There is no authority because you never gave it. No such thing as authorities. There's only one authority, that's mine. So for someone to have authority over me, I have to give it to them. So you never gave the authority. There is no obligation. So whoever it is saying that you've got to have the medical procedure is carrying out a tort against you. Like I said, could even lead into a criminal offense, and then you can sue them. Oh, and by the way, you don't need to hire a lawyer. You don't need lots of money to sue anybody. You can do it yourself at home. The Sovereign Project will show you how to do it. So basically, that's what the Sovereign Project's all about in a nutshell.
Very quick cap over it all there.
Yes.
But you know, I mean, the thing is you hear it all the time about all these mandates, and you know, the thing is, you've got, I mean, you know, it's called fear porn, isn't it? I mean, and they love to, and when I say they, I just mean people must have, I don't know, a phone and go, oh, do you know what? I've got 5 minutes. I'm going to find something and share it, scare the crap out of everybody, you know, and it's going to be mandated this. I mean, the government do it all the time. So, well, why have you got to bloody join in, you know? But yeah, exactly. But to me, right, there's only like one type of mandate, and that's when Fred and Bob are meeting for a pint and a game of darts, right? That's a mandate, you know, to hell with the rest of it. It doesn't even make sense, you know, and it's unfortunate. This is great. You know what is? I will be linking this to all of my information, my sites and everything, because the more people can go and even just like have a look at it and listen to you and chat with you and do the workshop and that, the better it'll be, because I don't know, so they've got to have it, I think, from more than one place, because I'm talking to people and they're listening and then they go and do something opposite, and I'm like, hang on, you know, I've just said that you don't need to worry about going and doing all this. Like you stand as a man or a woman, then you are sovereign. right? I a man, I a woman. Where is the contract? Where is the agreement? And then they start running off and ranting about, and I'm not, it is a scary life. We're going through some stuff, but like the human rights and like the EU and the United Nations thing. Who's ever knocked on your door from the United Nations? But excuse me, can I help you? Do you know what I mean? It's just crazy.
I mean, all this human rights stuff. I mean, human. Look it up. That's color of man. So exactly. Don't accept that title, especially from the government. And then you're going to point to a group of politicians that you have no connection with, and you're going to point to them and say, I get my rights from them. What are you doing? No, my rights are mine. I don't get them from anywhere else. So the people go off and they go, oh, European human rights. I mean, they don't understand that the EU is a corporation.
They're all corporations, aren't they? All of them. You got like the it's funny, I mean, I never watch TV. I hate the thing, but obviously you get sent like clips, you always do. Like now and again, you're going to be looking at it and there's like, Savit, Javit, whatever his face is, and he's spouting off like, who gives a monkeys what they say? Yes. They've got zero, what you were just saying there, Pete, they've got zero authority over I a man, or a woman or anything whatsoever, unless you give it to them.
Correct. I've got to give my authority to them, and it's usually done in a contract. So this Javid or whatever, if he wants to try and mandate me to do anything, I want to see the contract with his name on it and mine, and then we could talk about it. That contract doesn't exist. So if he tries to force it onto me, that's a tort. That can lead to a criminal offence. I'm going to come after you, and I'm going to start issuing him with notices. I mean, I don't think him personally would actually knock on my door and try and mandate me to have medical procedure. But if someone from the council does, or that's the person you go after. Okay, this is what I think people are fearful. They go, oh, the government, they can't comprehend it. It's like one massive monster, and they're terrified. And I said, well, no. Make it much more simple. Just consider the person knocking on your front door. There you go. You've got one person, maybe two. Whoopie-doo. You can deal with a couple of people knocking on your front door, can't you? So then the battle is much smaller, and go prepared. So if they're knocking on your door, if you've got people who live with you, 3 or 4, they're your witnesses. Get someone with a camera. Start asking questions. Who are you? I want to know your name. Give me your identification. Oh, right, now I know where you work and I know what your name is, and within 48 hours, I'll know everything about you. Yeah. And then if you planned ahead, you'll have a notice on your door that'll say private by appointment only, and then you'll levy a £500 fine. And then the next thing you'll do is you'll tap on your door and say, do you see that sign? Do you have an appointment? Oh, you don't? Right, well, you owe me 500 quid. You've got 14 days to pay it, otherwise it escalates to £10,000. And you don't answer their questions because you know you're not obligated to answer them, and they have no authority to make you anyway. So if you can shrink it down, this battle, everyone's terrified of the government, which doesn't exist. If you can shrink it down to just one person, or maybe one person at work, your manager, then the battle is much easier. And the average person should be able to handle that, hopefully. I know some people struggle to stand their ground, but you've got to do it. The only person who can save you is yourself.
Exactly. That is one of the biggest problems, and it drives me insane. Everyone's looking for someone to come and save them. Yeah. And it's like, and I hate it. I have to not get carried away with it or say anything sometimes. And it's just and they say things like, well, Leon, the Soros is going to be coming along and it's going to save us onto there. And oh, well, listen, it's not going to be long in the Q team. Have you ever heard of that stuff before? I think, oh my good God, you know what I mean? I need a drink, man. It's like, look, you come from God, right? You were put on this earth, and you don't have to believe in anything. You don't have to be like some kind of religious or anything like that. But you've been created and you've been put here by a miracle, however it is. And if you look at the whole scenario, everything's miraculous. So start acting like the miracle you are and realize that you have the power. You have the power within. And we always tell everyone, it's like, look, the only way to feel sovereign, be sovereign, is here and here. right? Now, and you can do the paperwork, you can do all that, but if you ain't got it here and you can't stand there and tell someone, right, you don't have to argue, you just have to speak plainly, nicely, politely, right? And that is the only way that you can be sovereign.
That's absolutely correct. It's in here. It's in here. That's where it begins. And I know a lot of people are looking for paperwork and they think it's the paperwork that saves them. And I go, no, the paperwork is the extension of your own authority. You think of them like weapons. You don't protect yourself from paperwork. You don't use paperwork and go hide behind it like, oh, the American Constitution or something. And because the MPs will shred it, and which is what they're doing in America, by the way. So your paperwork are your weapons, because you're already sovereign. So you'll send notice of liability. Woof. Then you'll send out your affidavit of obligations, wallop. And then you start sending in the bailiffs. And you'll say, I'm taking your house, I'm taking your car because you tried to mandate me to have a mask. There was no contract. That's a violation of my rights. You're in my dominion now. This is what people don't understand, is that sovereignty and dominion are yours. So if someone violates your sovereignty, they're in your dominion now. That means I can make the law. So when you wake up to this, it's incredibly powerful. And the fear goes away, because now you know government doesn't exist. It's a legal fiction. And by the way, the system, the global system is so fragile. Everything's a corporation. DVLA is a corporation. And this is the thing, is I don't know who's watching this, but we'll get a little bit complicated for some, but the government operates as a trust where they've essentially stolen the property rights of everything. So let's just take a little step back. We've all heard Klaus Schwab say that you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Technically, he's right, because we don't own anything right now. We don't own our house, we don't own our car, we don't own our children, we don't own even our bank accounts. We don't own. We don't even own the money we earn. And it's not even money, it's fiat currency anyway. So what's happened is over a few decades, centuries, if you like, don't have to get into the history too much, but the property rights have been stolen by trusts, but they're all corporations, they're all legal fictions. So for example, DVLA, you register your car with DVLA, you've handed over property rights of your car to DVLA, which is a corporation. They can then tax you. They can then tell you to have MOT. Technically, the DVLA is on the hook for that, because they're the actual administrators, trustees, if you like. But they make you pay the tax and make you pay the MOT and all the nonsense that goes with it. Now, here's the thing. Registering your car with DVLA is an offer. There's no law saying you have to do it. You can take your property rights back and say, okay, offer declined. I no longer wish to register my car with DVLA. You can take it back, remove the government license plates. Again, all of this is in plain sight. It's a license plate. That is a government property number that's on your vehicle and you're driving your car under license. You can take that license plates off, give it back to DVLA and use common roads, common land, the land for the public, if you like. Now, here's the thing. No one at DVLA can actually stop you doing this, because the property rights are in the name of a corporation. There is no living, breathing man or woman can come after you and say, you can't do that. Because really? Is there a contract between me and the living person? No, there isn't. There is no signature of this other person. You might work at DVLA. You've got no authority over me, though. So you could do this with all the corporations. That's everything. And when you realize that, it's like, oh my God, that's all I've got to do is take my property rights back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to quickly check this. I just got a message of somebody there, and they were messaged me there, and they had getting taken to court because he was driving. I think it was without insurance, Right. So he's driving down the road, just got stopped and everything like that, but he wouldn't give them joinder.
Correct.
Okay, but I don't know how, but they've actually ended up like finding out like the name, obviously, with the car and everything. I think it was a van actually. And anyway, and he said, look, what can I do? What can I do? And I just went, well, go in. And when they announce your name, just stand up and say, well, let's just call it to me, Scott. I am Ann Peter. I'm here on that matter. Yep. And then whatever they come back at you with and say like, blah, 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 what is your name? Are you Peter Wilson? Just say, I am Ann Peter. I'm here on that matter. And he said it. And he said they were all like looking at each other like that. And they were like, what does he mean? Yeah. And then he says, well, bring forth the man or woman who has a claim against I.
Yes.
And they're like, but it's, you know, you're driving, blah, no, bring forth the man or woman who has a claim against that. Oh, it's adjourned. Bye. Shut the case, gone. So, you know, and I just went, awesome, brilliant, well done. And that's all you got to do is just like, you know, at the end of the day, remember, really, because like, you know, everyone has been hammered from birth that you were a person, right? That you have no authority, that you are not special, that you go to school to get basically humiliated and abused by adults, you know, for like whatever, 12, 15 years or whatever it is, you know, and it, you know, and you can, if you step back and then look and you think, oh my God. I mean, where my gym is, right? It's a nursery. It's a big building. You've got a cafe, got a nursery, got some kind of training. The nurseries are taking kids on from 2 years old.
Right.
So, I mean, you're separating the whole like family community. You know, you can see it. They're trying to destroy it. Now they're making kids stay in school until 18.
I know.
So that's like 16 years.
Yeah.
You know, that they're separating them then, try to destroy. And it's all to break down the community, break down the family, and then break down the human spirit for people who don't realize how special that they are. And every single individual is a sovereign being from birth, and you have got all of those rights anyway. You don't have to ask anybody or do any paperwork. You just got to click in and remember, oh, I'm a man.
Correct.
You know, it's just correct. It's crazy that you know, I suppose like it is a way that you get indoctrinated, or even through the school, even if you're fighting against them, everything has to be paperwork.
Yes, that's right.
Really?
That's right. You're absolutely indoctrinated since birth, and your parents were before you, and your grandparents as well. You're just used to it, and you think, oh, this is the way it is. Until you start asking questions, it's like the driver's license. I'm going, hang on a minute. Why do I need a driver's license? Because a license means asking permission. That's what it is. And I'm going, who is it that I'm asking permission from or for to drive my car when I own it? So there's the sort of questions I was asking. And of course, what you're actually doing is you're asking permission from a legal fiction, which is a government. It doesn't even exist. So it's a big joke. So no one can force you to have a driver's license, because no one, like a living, breathing man, can't challenge you. They can't turn up with a contract and saying, well, here's the contract you signed and I signed. Nope, doesn't exist. Again, it's a corporation. But yeah, going back to the kids and stuff, it's really tragic what they're doing with the kids now. I mean, there is no education in school anymore. I have a lot of people contacting me all the time, and they're worried about their kids getting a medical procedure. And I says, look, this is what, okay, let's touch on something. This is where a lot of people get confused with this common law stuff, okay, general term common law. They think they can use paperwork to stop people doing bad things. No, it's not how it works. The paperwork is when someone does something bad to you, you can go after them. But people are in the belief that if you write a notice to the headmaster, then that will stop the headmaster doing the medical procedure. No, it won't, okay? Paperwork will never, ever stop evil people doing evil things. So there's a lot of people saying, oh, I'm going to put the headmaster on notice. I'm going, no, don't do that. Just take your kids out of school. Just take them out of school. You, by the way, if you're going to take your kids out of school, give a notice to the headmaster that you're doing so that you're not in breach of contract. So it'd be, I hereby give notice that I shall be removing my child from school. I no longer require the services of said school. And you're covered. Get it witnessed. You do that, the social services can't come after you. I mean, here's the thing, people don't understand. You put your kids in school, it's public school. That means they're now a member of the public, which means membership. And now you're subject to all the policies and everything that the government can sling at you. You have no rights. If you put your children into public school, you have no rights. You've handed them over, okay? So don't think that paperwork can save your children from getting any medical procedures. No, you've handed them over. The state can do whatever they want. You filled the paperwork out. And this is another thing. People keep filling out government paperwork. Stop doing this. It's not even written in English in most cases. It's like dog Latin with all caps. And they use very sneaky manipulation. They mess with the grammar of English. They use things like margin rules. They use the four corner rules and all this. people read it as English. I go, it's not English. And then you're ticking boxes. And then they'll say that the forms you fill out, it'll say something like, use black ink. Okay. Well, that means that's referring to your dead entity because you're using black ink. And then it'll say something like, please use all caps to fill out your name. And they put boxes. And then that's what you do. Well, that's the name of your corporation. So people don't understand what they're filling out or signing. And it's simple like a tick box. So let's say you fill out a form with the council and you filled it out how they want it. And they'll say, what is this pertaining? What is it about? And there'll be like little tick boxes. And then you'll pick one. And one of it might say tax. And you go, yeah, I'm contacting the council because of tax. So you get your pen, you go tick, and I've just ticked the box because it's about tax. Well, what you've just done is you've now accepted that you're a taxpayer. And now you have the title taxpayer. And now you're obligated to pay tax. That's how these people operate. So don't think paperwork saves you with the children in school. Just get them out. Don't serve notices and think that's the end of the story. No, it isn't. And don't fill out any of these forms. You should be in your jurisdiction using your paperwork. Never use anyone else's forms. And we go over that with the Sovereign Project. That's what we go through every Thursday night at the workshop. We have a live workshop and we go through that. We teach people the basics so they don't fall into traps like this.
Mm-hmm. So what time do you do that on the Thursday night?
Yeah, we start at 7 in the evening. Normally I get there for 6. Everybody gets there from about 6:30, so you can get yourself a drink, get a seat, get yourself comfortable because it fills up fast. So if you're a little bit late, you won't get a seat. And then we start at 7. And we normally have a break halfway in the middle, and we're normally done by 9 in the evening. And then after that, we'll do questions. And we're actually starting another one. So we're going to do the Thursday thing, which will be the workshop on the Thursday nights. And what we're also trying to set up as well, which we're planning on doing on the Sundays. We used to do the stand in the park, but because of the weather, no one wants to turn up in the cold and all this, so we don't go anymore. So what we're trying to do is set up like a stand with a coffee. So we're going to go to a venue. You get yourself a cup of coffee, and then what we're going to be doing is if people have got issues like, oh, I've got a parking ticket, I've got this, that, the other, we will all work together and help people with their notices and their paperwork. So the idea is they can have a go at doing their own notice because they've done the courses, the lessons, they've done the workshop. Have a go, come along on the Sunday, and then we will look after it. I've got a notice team that can now look through it and they can say, okay, change your language here. Clean up the notice, remove any emotion from the notice. Don't put any of that in there because notices don't operate in that way. You're not doing a love letter. Keep it clear, So we're just starting that now. So now people have gone through the workshop the first time around. We're starting again. So the workshop started again. We've got some newbies now. And the people who were in the first 22, 23 weeks that we did, or how many weeks it was, they're now helping the newbies. So the newbies are starting, and now I've got a team behind me. It spreads the workload, otherwise I get stretched. I can't do it all. So now I've got a team and we're helping each other. So yes, things are happening here in Leicester, let's put it that way.
Okay. So on the Thursday night, is there one particular venue or do you change the venue?
Yes, we've got one venue at the moment, which is changing. Okay, so we're changing over Christmas. We're switching. I can't really go into too much detail. I can't mention any names, but all I can say is that the manager, who's brilliant, by the way, and let us have the venue. He's put under pressure by the brewery, so that's all gone a bit not so good for him. So it looks like we'll be losing that venue in the new year, but we have one lined up. So we will be moving to a new venue, and then that will be our new main venue every Thursday and hopefully every Sunday as well.
Okay. And is that, well, just once you get like the finalized, but is it in the center of Leicester or around Leicester?
Yes, yeah. It's not too far away. It's just near in the city. It's not in the city centre. It's just outside. So there is parking. Now, if people want to attend the new venue, well, we haven't got it finalised yet. It's pretty much done. Shouldn't be a problem. what the best way to do is if you go on the website, okay, once you sign up to the website, which is the sovereignproject.live, you sign up to that you get access to all the paperwork for free. By the way, there's a load of stuff on there, like how to write a notice. It explains to the police how to handle them, all that sort of stuff. You can have all that's for free. Once you signed up to that, you can then gain access to, we have a private Sovereign Fraternity Facebook page. Okay, then you can get into that. There's over 1,200 people in there, and we're all helping each other. And there's some great people in that Facebook group. They're switched on. They know their stuff. So if you're struggling on a notice, you can put your notice in there. Other people will look at it and give you pointers and give you tips on how to handle things. But if you get into that group, ask someone, and then we'll eventually say, look, there's where the new venue is. And then you'll be part of the network. I've got a network coordinator, and she runs all the emails and everything for me. We'll get you on that list, and then you'll get the newsletter and notifications of anything that's changing, anything that's new. So there is a way in. Obviously, I always say, I didn't coin the phrase, but the Sovereign Project is Fight Club. Okay, so it's underground. So that's why it's a little bit of a journey to get in. All right, so that we just got to make sure we don't get anyone dodgy and all the rest of it. We'll check you out, and if you seem good, we'll let you in. But yes, it's Fight Club, and we tend to say to people as well, don't run before you can walk. Learn the basics first. Don't go charging off and say, right, I'm going after my mortgage or whatever. Oh, going after my birth certificate. Don't, that's the holy grail.
Yeah,
you've got to.
That's what a lot of people just they get excited a little bit carried away, and it's like charging in, and obviously there's like so many different rumors, and other things that I mean, I deal with people every single day, and they're all fine, but they all come up with like, right, what's this rumor about? I can claim all my mortgage back.
Yes.
And what's this, like, how do I actually claim back all these payments I've made on my car and then stop paying for my car? I'm like, it's like, oh, okay. But, and the thing is though, like, it's the same with all Chinese whispers, and one little thing, and then someone will add on another sentence, and the next thing it is what it is, and it's it does kind of hinder people in a lot of ways, and you can see the disappointment on people's faces when they say, "Oh, by the way, you're not going to get 10 million when you find out where your birth certificate is." What? Unfortunately, but I understand what you mean about like Fight Club. You're not allowed to speak about Fight Club.
Yep.
I've done a lot of like live webinars with a guy in America and Tazadak, and anybody that comes on the call that he hasn't actually spoken to before, and in front of everyone, by the way, right, you've got to go on camera, and he'll grill you for as long as he wants to until he feels that he's comfortable letting you in. And it's like, are you a government agent? Yeah, you work for the FBI.
Yeah.
And he goes on and on and on, like, who's your family and what do you do and everything like that. And is that a uniform I see behind you? And, I mean, he's not doing anything unlawful or illegal. It's actually very lawful, but he doesn't want the hassle. And obviously, everybody's getting infiltrated. I've had a lot of grief in the last couple of weeks. But it's just to be expected. You got to take it on the chin and continue and crack on. But this stuff, though, sounds brilliant, So, like, it's definitely now, anyway, they're meeting every Thursday at 7 p.m. in Leicester, which is good. And hopefully very soon also with a coffee on the Sunday.
That's what we're trying to set up.
That'll be brilliant. That'll be brilliant. So it's good when, there's a few people who've been like calling and asking me to sort of like travel down places and stuff like that. So I think I probably have to, in the end. I'm not gonna say no all the time. But again, this is great. Obviously, we've met online before anyway, and it is what it is. And it's nice when you can actually be so far away from each other and have a chat like this. But obviously, human interaction is needed to keep sane as well, though, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I just did my first live event a couple of weekends ago on the Sunday in Birmingham. So that was Yogita Mystery from the Awakening Nation. She actually set that up. So we sold a few tickets. All the tickets were sold, which is, I was quite shocked, and people wanted me to sign books and stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm just a chap. I'm just talking, what I found. But yeah, it does set you back a bit, but yeah, I've just done that one. And I said, I'll do more. Mm-hmm. So I think we've got one planned in January, maybe, that might happen. So I'm prepared to travel as well, but we do have to consider the costs involved, because obviously petrol, staying in a hotel, that sort of stuff. Because it does cost money, unfortunately. But luckily, we've got the technology. We can do this sort of stuff.
Yeah, because I'm actually going to be, I think it's in January as well. I'm going to be doing an event, but it is actually an online, it's live, but it's online. Right. I have no idea how it's working. It's not me. Someone just messaged me, and it's actually about more health and sovereignty.
Okay.
But it's still tied, isn't it, really? Because, and they just wanted somebody to give them a little bit of talk about, this type of stuff, that we're talking about here. But I think the main thing is going to be, as well, I know it's a bit, but it's going to be health. And it was great today. I was talking to someone who had wanted to ask about, debts and stuff like that. And the great thing was, it was I won't say any names or anything, but he was working in the dentistry profession. Okay. And he is completely on our side.
Great.
And he understands what a mandate is. He's going for a game of darts as well. Mm-hmm. All right. So, and he is, I can't remember the number, but I'm sure it was he's actually got together with about 40 other dental professionals in the UK who are all setting up their own dental association.
Oh, brilliant.
That is going to be, completely free from all of that stuff, so there'll be their own private association. So isn't that amazing?
Absolutely fantastic. In fact, I'd like to add to that is something we're doing as well with the Sovereign Project. We've got what we call Sovereign Health. And we've had a lot of nurses and paramedics and other medical professionals get in touch. And we've got their contact details now, and we're trying to set that up now. So the problem is with some of these doctors, they might have woken up to what's going on, but they're not woken up to the next level, because a lot of them are still worried that they need a license to practice medicine. And I go, no, you don't, because you don't need to ask permission. You're sovereign. You just practice medicine. And the only person who's involved in that contract would be your patient. What you do with your patient is entirely up to you. You do not need a license. So I'm trying to help these nurses and paramedics and doctors and whatnot to wake up to that next level. Don't panic. Don't think you need a license. Don't think you've got to register or all that sort of stuff. Step away from it, become sovereign, and then we'll show you how you can protect yourself, that if someone from the government knocks on your door, you'll know how to handle yourself, and you'll know what to do. We're doing this as well with people who want to homeschool, although school's not quite the correct word.
Home education.
Home education, that's right. We've got parents all over. They contact me as well, and they're saying, look, they want to take their kids out of school, and they want to give them a proper education, but they're worried that social services will start knocking on the door. So we help them. But it starts with your mindset. You've got to break that. You've got to break your brainwashing, okay? Don't be a slave. Remember, government does not exist. Social services does not exist. It's a legal fiction, okay? Once you can get past that, and then you can become sovereign, and then you'll get angry, and you go, who is it who says I can't educate my child? I want to know his name. And then if someone knocks on the door, is it you? Are you the person who says I can't educate my child? Is that what you're saying? Show me the contract between me and you where you've got any authority over me. And then I tell you, these mums, they'll be left alone. You don't want to mess with these people.
No, when they wake up. We've actually set up a kickboxing class during the day purely for home educated children. Oh, sorry, home educated sons and daughters.
Yes, sons and I know.
Yeah. That's the title thing, isn't it? You know, and they
I
trick
know.
us into titles every single time. You turn around and and they're trying to lay titles on you all the time.
That's
And then accidentally you're actually like, I've just done it there, calling them children. They're not.
Yeah.
They're sons and daughters, because
Sons and
the
daughters,
children
yeah.
is the title from the government. But yeah, and it's going great. It's like really building up. It's getting very busy. You know, I mean, it's not even. We actually just say, look, just give us £1 at the door and just come in, and and there's piles of them, and it's just only do that to make sure that they've got some kind of commitment to it,
Yeah.
and we're just going to give all the money away to charity anyway. But they love it, and they're there, and it's obviously a good thing for a PE class, because not many people are going to do that at home, are they? So, and it just gives them that extra thing during the day, right? Because a lot of the stuff they do, they've got other things, but it's always in the evening, going back to that. Whereas if they're in this, well, actually, they don't get much PE in schools at all nowadays, do they? The two get, it's like they're getting replaced with, like, sex education for 3-year-olds, I think.
Oh, God,
But maybe slight exaggeration, but it's not bloody much of one.
Not more there, you're almost there. I mean, what they want to bring out, what the government, or the people behind government, what they want to bring out. I just want to touch on something as well. We were talking about rights and stuff, and sovereignty, and you're born with them in this. I just want to do a little sort of asterisk and say, well, there's a little caveat to that. Yes, when you're born, you get all these rights, you're sovereign, but your parents put all that lot in a little box for you and tie it all up and save it until you become the age of consent, and then, which is 16 in this country. And then when you're 16, that's when you get given all your rights, because until then you are under the jurisdiction of your parents. So it's very dangerous to say that children have rights, because if you do that, then the politicians will turn around and say, well, okay, then children have the rights to decide whether or not to take this medical procedure when they're 12 years old. That's the danger. Okay. And what they're thinking of doing, these people behind government, is 12-year-olds will then have the right to decide if they want to have a relationship with a 35-year-old man.
Yeah.
Okay. So if parents say, yeah, children have rights, you fell into that trap, because remember, rights is a package deal. You don't just get rights on your own. You get responsibility, you get authority, you get your court, your law, your jurisdiction, and your freedom. It's a package deal. Politicians don't tell you that, because when the politicians talk about rights, it's actually privileges, okay, not rights. So it's a package deal. You could only have rights if you have the authority to enforce them, if you like, or to go after someone when they are violated. So yes, if there's any parents out there, yes, your children, when they're born, they've got your rights when you're born, and you're sovereign when you're born, but it's all put into a little box, tied in a bow, put it away for 16 years. When you reach age of consent, you go, there you go, there's all your rights, and so I just wanted to get that out there, because there's a lot of parents. Oh, by the way, as well, please, parents, use the word property and belongings when you're referring to your children or your offspring. So if you're going to do an affidavit of status, put your offspring in there, and then use the word they are your property and they belong to you. Property comes from an ancient word from 1600, 1700 years ago, something like that. I think it's French. But think of it this way. If you are the proper parents for the offspring, then they are your property. If you don't claim property of your offspring, the government will. And they're already doing it. They call it, I think they call it corporate parents. So they're already doing it. So what they're doing is, say, for example, parents put their children in school, but then they send a notice saying, don't do the medical procedure. And then the school is then saying, well, you've lost your rights anyway, because they're now our property. And we are now the corporate parents, and we're going to make the decision that you aren't good enough to be the parents, and then we are going to inject your child. So if you don't claim your children as, or offspring as, your property, then the state will. And you've got to use the word belonging. I just want to touch on a couple of things as well. A lot of people think liberty and freedom means the same thing. No, it doesn't. So liberty is actually allowances and privileges. People don't understand this. So freedom means belonging. So freedom means you can choose who you belong to and who belongs to you. So the easiest way to understand this is like a husband and wife. They belong to each other. They've made that decision, and that's how they belong. It's the choice. You can choose where you belong. That's what freedom means. Liberty is privileges and allowances. So it comes from the ancient goddess. I think it's Libertas, and her followers who worshipped her used to say, "Wow, she gives us all these freedoms," but it was like privileges and allowances. It comes from another authority. So when you understand that the word liberty means that, and you understand that America is a corporation, they've got a president, so it gives the game away a little bit. You know, president's a corporation, and then you've got American citizen, which is an employee of that corporation. And then what do? Put Statue of Liberty there. Well, that means they've got privileges and allowances, not freedom.
Exactly. But the thing is, like, if you know anybody that's ever been in the Royal Navy, all right, you get in your ship, okay, and you go into harbour, you tie it up onto there, and as soon as everything's settled, what they do is they allow you liberty. So what that means is you were allowed to go ashore and do whatever you think, but your liberty ends at a certain time, and you have to return, all right? And if you are not back on the ship before the liberty is ended, then you're going to prison. Yeah. Right, and that's a fact. And I tell you what, I've done it many a times. So I have been like locked up in cells all over the place for like not getting back in time for the liberty ending. Right. So you know, and that's what it is. It's so easy. I mean, not everyone's been in the Navy, so I know that, but you know, as soon as we when somebody was explaining about the Liberty Bell, which you actually ring the bell for the Liberty to start, and then they ring the bell. It is, yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Ding ding, you can go now. It's true. You know, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It's in your face. Some of you got, waking up. I talk about a lot of this stuff, and a lot of it, people just go, "Oh, why didn't I see that?" So it's not like you have to go and look it up. I talk about this, and people just wake up and go, "Oh, well, yeah, now I see it. It's in your face."
Yeah. Hidden in plain sight. Hidden in plain sight. Everything. You know. Yeah. I mean, it's like, what I like to say is like when we're talking about like saying, we've just said it there, like, your children or your offspring, your sons and daughters being property, and you say, well, look, they are proper, right? Proper to I, property. Correct. Proper to I, right? So, and that's the whole thing, is about the law of I, right? I am man, which again, and I said this a while ago on a video I was doing. And the thing is, we just spoke about like the sex education and the rights type of thing that the schools are trying to push in hard now. And the thing is, as well, as what they're really going hard for your property to actually start changing what they think or what they feel, right? Instead of saying, right, that they are a man or a woman. Right, because the only being that can have rights, right, as being in law, is a man and a woman. And if you can't state I a man, I a woman, right, then you have no law, and you have to be the law. So they're wanting you to say, I don't even know what half the terms is. What is it? I am a non-binary. Well, all right, I tell you what, then you are literally a slave property, and you belong to the government 100%. That's why they're doing it.
Correct. I mean, I can't keep up with all that either, but that's exactly what's going on. If you turn your back on I am a man, I am a woman, boom, you've lost all your rights. So, yes. And it's also biblical. Now, I know a lot of people, this is the thing, when you study common law, you will come across the Bible. It is intertwined into it. And I know there's a lot of people out there that, I don't want to do the God thing, Fine, don't get caught up on that. You can use God as a metaphor for something else if you wish, but the people who are currently controlling the system, this is what they believe. This is their system, right? So now there's a reason why there's a Bible in the courtroom, although it's not even a genuine Bible because it's not written in English, and I think it's the word God and the Lord has been removed. So it's the if you look at it and you're on the pages, you'll notice that the I think it's Lord and all this is written in all caps. So the L is like a large L, and then ORD is in a smaller all caps. Well, that removes the L, so now it's ORD. So people think it's the Lord, and I go, no, they've removed the L and it's ORD, and I think it means government if you water it down, So, but yeah, going off track. But yes, that book, the Bible, is basically a book on law. So there's a lot of stories in there that are like metaphors to explain how the law should work. So don't get caught up on the God thing, please. Just understand it's part of it. So yeah, some people get caught up. Oh, I don't want to know. Then because I mention God all the time when I'm doing my PowerPoints and stuff, and people think, oh, religious. And no.
Yeah.
Don't get caught up. If you wish, if you want it for religious reasons, fine, but don't get caught up with it.
That's the thing. I mean, we're not asking you to sort of like go and knocking on everybody's door and saying, do you believe in Jesus? You know what I mean? It's like, but start to realize, and it's amazing how deeply entwined it all is between, right, first God and the Bible and the law. And we don't mean legal. We don't mean statute. We're talking about law. And that is one of the biggest things that people get confused in, is legal and lawful.
Absolutely correct.
I'm not saying as well either that you don't need to know what the legal side is, because it's quite handy to know what the legal side is. Yes. So that if you need it now and again, you can borrow it a little bit.
Yeah, right? So in this,
but like to know the opposite of it on the lawful side, where you stand, and know that you are more powerful than what that legal thing says.
That's correct. One thing we cover every week, we go over the same thing so people understand, is that every time you hear the word legal or illegal, it is always referring to a contract. Always. So that's where it lives. Legal, illegal is contract. There is always a contract. So if the policeman says to you, it's illegal to have this plant, well, show me the contract. So where's my signature and your signature where I have agreed that having this plant is illegal? So yes, legal, illegal does not mean unlawful or lawful, completely separate. So yes, that's something you've got to learn. And people try doing these remedies and they don't even know the difference between the two. And then they end up getting in serious trouble.
Yeah, and then when they're trying to do the paperwork for it, and then it's good, and they've started off well, and then they get excited because they're on their own, and then the next thing I don't mean that in a bad way, but then they're doing this act, that act, the next act, and thought, well, hang on, that's not lawful. That's you've actually gone off on it then.
Yes.
Funny. A thought popped into my head there, and tomorrow I'm actually doing I'm going to court.
Okay, right? Okay.
But it's like it's like a mock court. I'm going there and they're gonna try, it's a course thing where they're gonna try and trick us into joindering,
right?
Like giving joinder, try to give you sentences, words, make you reply, in the wrong way.
Yes.
So that's interesting. I'm looking forward to that. So
that'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to touch on that as well, because a lot of people fall into this trap. They keep saying, I'm going to court. And I say, well, if you're going to court, you're going to someone else's court. You're now in someone else's jurisdiction. So you take your court with you wherever you go. Now I can go to a courthouse with a courtroom, and I can hold my court in that building. I can do that, but I'm not going to court, because that means I am now entering into someone else's jurisdiction. So that's another mindset thing you've got to get right.
Yeah. And the what I was trying to get through, which I'm not saying that it's worked for that guy who was went to the court room about his van, but they've obviously made them uncomfortable that they thought, well, we have to just kick him out and we'll try and think about what to do about it. That's at least a good thing, you know, because the guy that I'm going to be talking to tomorrow, and I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be fun. I don't care, like, if I get totally embarrassed and annihilated. You know, you're dealing with someone who's like far like more experienced than me, and that is how you learn. So, you know, it's going to be fun. But one thing is, he's been doing this since, I mean, he can't be much younger than me, and he's been doing it since he was a teenager, right? Oh, wow. And he's been getting into into the courts, and just what you're talking about, those plant things, you know, and he's done a lot of like them things, you know, for that. and he was getting locked up quite a lot because he was saying the wrong thing, but that's made him think and learn. So, and one big thing was, which is really just, you reminded me there, I can't remember what you said, but it was about being in contempt of court, or when you were mentioned the court, how, and that, what I was trying to do with that guy who, about his van, was to make him convert that to an open court of him. Okay, so it's a public building, and it should be, all courts should be, right, under law, open 24/7. Or a public building, they should never ever be locked. You know, and the thing is, this is where it comes back to real democracy, not what we've got now, what they've tried to tell us was democracy, which is not democracy. Exactly. You know, but you know, when you hold your own court and the court of I, or your name, and you know, this tomorrow, I'm looking forward to it, see what happens in there, but I know that I'm going to get hit with the contempt of court thing. I'm going to hold you in contempt, but you know, he's told us what to say and taught us and everything, so we just got to try and remember it, you know. And he says, well, if they ever say, you know, if you go in and they say, right, and you decide to attend court, say for it could be, I'll say it, right, council tax, right? Okay. So you go there and then they call your legal fiction out, which is a title. And you go up and say, well, my name's Peter, I'm here on that matter, right? I am on Peter here on that matter, not saying you are that name. And they say, well, are you Mr. Peter Wilson? I am on Peter, I'm here on this matter. You know, and then you know for a fact, you know, that they get shirty, they get angry, and they say, well, I want an answer. Well, are you, yes or no? Are you Mr. Peter Wilson? I say, I'll hold you in contempt of court. You know, and say, well, what contempt would that be? Would that be on a criminal contempt, or would that be on a contract contempt, like a civil matter, civil or criminal? So they go, it's criminal contempt. Well, if it's criminal contempt, then you must have a man that a man have injured. So I must have caused an injury or attacked or assaulted, you know, and done a trespass against another man or a woman. Can you bring them forward? And then so that I can provide remedy to, you know, for the trespass I've caused to the other man or woman. So they go, well, look, okay, you haven't done that, it's got to be civil. Oh, okay, well, if it's a civil contempt, then can you bring forward the contract that I've broken, so that I've broken that contract, and then I can provide remedy by, you know, replacing my misdeeds on the contract. No such thing as contempt of fucking court. Nope. You know, and it's the court of I anyway.
But that's right. I mean, we haven't even established the jurisdiction of the court yet. So how can you claim, you know, contempt of court when I haven't even decided the jurisdiction? So, I mean, you can say, well, hang on a minute, you know, I'm going to declare this a common law open court, a court of record under my jurisdiction. And then I can say, I notice we don't have a jury. Don't worry, I brought my own. So you can bring your own jury in. So there's so many things, you know, when you get a speeding ticket or something like that, you go in and you go, well, hang on a minute, where's my jury? You're not in a court of law if there's no 12 people sitting there. When you learn this stuff, it's like, oh my word, you know. Yeah. Got to get the information out.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, once I do think, right, I mean, I'd love to get into that position, and or you know, at least, like, I don't know, like, be able to guide someone along enough just to be able to go in and see how far you could push, you know, like the judges to go up there. Because I think, right, that if you had a real proper judge with a good mind, that they would actually enjoy it, you know, enjoy going into a lawful process, because they know Yeah, they're not in that position, gone up that high to be. No, I'm not talking about judges, which, by the way, yeah, I'm talking about, like, real I am judge. That's, but then you can turn them into, once you get the jury in, the magistrate. And I mean a real magistrate, not the idiots that come along and say, oh, yes, I'm a baker most of the time, but today I'm a magistrate. I'm on about turning them into a magistrate so that they can run the court.
Yes.
And
trouble is a lot of these magistrates that you find in court, they're all Masonic. So they've actually sworn an oath to the Masons. So you have to be very careful. There's a little tip as well, is that, how the government operates is it's all based on assumption. Okay. So when you get your speeding ticket sent through the post, you'll find that your last name will be in all caps. Now, what the police are hope that you do is assume that's your last name, but it's not. It's not even English. So the fraud doesn't happen unless they say it's your name. So if you actually take your charge sheet in, your speeding ticket, and go to the magistrate, excuse me, magistrate, can you tell me what this is? Don't even acknowledge it as an alphabet or English in any way. So don't even say it's a name, but I don't recognize it. Just say, can you tell me what this is? He's not going to be able to read that, because as soon as he does, he's committing the fraud, because your assumption has been lost. You're not assuming. He's now telling you that that's you. Really? That's dog Latin. That's not English. Now the magistrate's in serious trouble. He's committing fraud at that point. So at that point, he won't say it. He'll just say, no, case dismissed. No. You will not say that. He cannot read the signs that are on that document, because if he does, he's committing fraud. So, but yes, when you know how this works, and another thing as well, like traffic. By the way, traffic laws, no such thing. And even if people think, even if you're still brainwashed, even if you believe in traffic laws and they somehow apply to you, they haven't even been proclaimed. So that means when a law is brought into being in legislation, if you like, someone is supposed to proclaim it, which means it's supposed to be someone within the government is to put their name on it and then sign off on it, and they've proclaimed the law. No one wants to do that. No one wants to be liable. So what they do is they get you to proclaim the law when you open up the letter. And then, of course, you fill it out. You go, oh, I've got speeding tickets, asking for my details. And then what do? You sign it, you date it. You've now proclaimed the law. Now it applies to you. That's how they're doing it. When people wake up to this.
Yeah, but I mean, it says it itself when you actually say it, and you can find thousands of these little video snippets, well, you don't have to, you get sent them every bloody day, and it's like the Road Traffic Act. It's an act. Everything is an act. So it's not real. It's a complete fiction, which is like, what was it? I don't want to say the word, but it's sort of like it ends with the numbers 2020 Act, right? That they did to us. But I'd love to see the proclamation for that one then.
No, doesn't exist.
And it's just, I was thinking like, I don't know if I could actually get him to do it, but someone who's just going to like a well-known court case, right, for that act, for having the gym open. And I don't know what happened, because I've never got to speak to him since that last week, but because he kept it open for the first two, they shut him down on the third one with an ASBO, and then he wasn't doing anything like what from me, wasn't doing anything like that I would agree to.
Okay.
Right. But he managed to beat them for like the 2 times, and it was the 3rd time they just got so frustrated, and he got shut down, and then he found out afterwards, because he was using human rights law, right? Yeah, but you're not allowed to. Oh, I don't know. So, but he did. He was quite clever how he did it. But like on the ASBO, you're not allowed to use that anyway. But they didn't know that at the time, so he got shut down, and then he ended up in court. Which is interesting, because like he found out then that you weren't allowed to use an ASBO to close a place down or to use against you. Well, it's not against you anyway, is it? It's against the fiction. Yeah. But he I don't think he accepts that part about, he was well into it, and he was very successful, for what he did. I went down there and everything, but it would be interesting to have them, because the jury thing, right? And to go in for an annulment by jury against that 2020.
Yes.
Now that would be interesting.
Do it.
Yeah. That would be really interesting just to see that type of thing happen, because that, annulment by jury, by the way, if you're listening there, I don't know if you can actually have any, let's call it a law, be it an act or whatever it is, kicked out the statute book if it's found to be unfair and unjust against the man. So this guy, if he was found not guilty by the jury of his peers, and this is a trial by jury, not a jury trial, right?
Yeah.
Then they could, because they had found him not guilty because the law was wrong, even though it's an act, we know what we're talking about, has to be cancelled and thrown out of the act or statute book.
Yes.
That is an annulment by jury. So that's what I'd love to try and get to talk to him about doing. I don't know if he'd do it, because he doesn't really accept that about the axe things, but that would be awesome to see something like that happen.
Yes, that would be really good. I mean, you're going to have you've got to know your stuff, because if you're going to go down that route, you're going to be in their jurisdiction, if you like. So you can't do the the sovereign bits so much, but because you accept it. So it's almost like, go on, and I'll let you apply the act to me, but then I will use the jury to get rid of it. Where you're going, so you can do this is I know where this is where people get confused as well, and they don't understand this jurisdiction thing. So yes, you can use these different jurisdictions of law in quotes, they're all contracts at the end of the day, but you've got to make sure that you don't apply them to yourself, because if you do apply them to yourself and use the wrong language, then all the legislation applies to you. It's like discrimination. There's a lot of people out there trying to use discrimination legislation and push back against all this medical procedure that's going on. And I said, you've got to be really careful if you're going to do that, because if you word it wrong, if you go and try and sue a shop and actually use the words, you are discriminating against me, and then you quote the act, you're now applying that act to you. And then a lawyer will then slide in and go, oh, right, well, if you're applying that one, I can bring all these other ones and they apply to you as well. So if you want to use sort of that jurisdiction, it's best to state what was happening in your notice. So it'll be, on this day, I tried to go into the shop. I was denied access due to medical procedure. So you just, nice clean English, what happened? And then you would then quote the act, but not apply it to yourself. You're not saying I was discriminated against, but you would apply it and you would write it down, and then you would say, have you breached this legislation? So it's a word game. You've got to be really careful with your language when you're doing these notices, because if you inadvertently apply the legislation to you, you'll get a whole ton of bricks on top of you as well. So you've got to be very careful with that. And some people use acts and statutes in their affidavits. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a dodgy game. Because if you start using acts and you apply them to yourself within an affidavit, then you're accepting that jurisdiction and all the acts will then apply to you. So you've got to be careful. You've got to be practiced at this. And a lot of people are waking up in 2020 and they've never actually written a letter before in their life. They've done everything with phone calls and texts, and they can't do it. Yeah. It's like a skill they don't know. And me and you, we've been doing it for, 30 years for myself. You know, my ones at the very beginning were a little bit rough, but mine today are pretty good.
Yeah. So, it's what you're saying about like the axes as well. It's like the all applying to you if you accept one. It's the same with the Bill of Rights, though. And
Yes.
if you're saying you accept that, oh, well, I have the right and I have the right and blah, blah, blah,
Yes.
then you have to accept all of it when it's not good, because a lot of it is actually done against you.
Yes.
And it was set up which is the Magna Carta thing as well. It wasn't done for me and you, it was exactly the bloody opposite. We were slaves then, even, where they didn't try and pretend.
Yes.
That's the difference. Fair enough, we're still slaves, but at least they are pretending, trying to lie a bit more to you. But like back then, there was no disguise.
No.
So, I mean, again, you get a bit backlash and stuff like that, but it's the truth, it's like, it wasn't set up at all for that. And if you want to start using those types of things, you have to be, very, you can do it as long as you know what you're doing and how to actually use the language.
Yes.
Right. The language, when it comes down as well, is like, I can't remember but the beginning bit, Ling, right, and Ua, right, they are gods. They are gods of war. Right. I'm trying to think what it is, and one of them was a sea monster. Now I don't mean like the human bit. It's like the person or whatever it is, but it was broken down. It was very good, the guy who did it, and it was like 3 different gods that had been put together to make language.
Languages, that's where the word comes from.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I'll have to look it up. I've got it written down somewhere because I was listening to it and I was like, oh, okay. And the first one was Ling, and then it was Ua. And then and the other thing was age. It was like the age of eons, the way that had actually put it on. And it was something like something being on you, something like war devil on you forever, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, something like that. I'll get it properly. It is something like that. I'll find out and I'll let you know. But and that was the word language. But it's all spellology. It's all just like trying to trick you, and that's why they call it spelling, because they've been putting us under spells by using all of this language. None of it is English.
Not today. It's been so twisted. I mean, what people are using as English is like a Mongol English at best.
Yeah.
And what the kids are using online with their emojis and all this slang, these kids have got no way of deciphering this. They've got no chance.
No.
They're going to be clicking phones and they're going to be using digital signatures, and they'll have no clue of what's going on. They don't have no clue of their rights, and they won't understand what's going on. They won't understand why they've gone to prison or why they've been fined. And I said, well, you consented because you used that app and you press that button, and that's all they need. Mm-hmm. So, and that's another thing we do with the Sovereign Project, which we tell people, get out of the digital. Don't use websites, don't use texts, don't use phone calls, none of that, emails, not for professional stuff. If you're going to be doing a remedy and it's serious, get into the written, get it signed, wet ink signature. That's all you'll deal with. And you make it clear to these corporations, I will not accept emails. I will not accept phone calls, texts in any way. I'll only accept written, genuine copies with a wet ink signature. Everything else will be returned, and it will cost you 350 quid, because every time I've got to return something or send back an email, I'm charging you 350 quid. But get into the written, get wet ink signatures. That's your sign of nature. Get into it, and don't accept anything else. If there's no sign of nature from someone else, throw it back at them and then hit them with a charge. Because you're wasting my time. There's no signature. You owe me 350 quid.
Yeah, no, that's it. But I think the whole thing about talking about the offspring like that, I mean, you can see the way that it's being pushed along, the technology, whereas they literally don't have to use the mind really, and it's everything's just press a button this, press a button that. And if you look back at like what I would class as like the clowns in costumes, what is it they're running around with themselves? And you ask them a question, they actually get it out and start, I'm like, oh my God, and you can see they're completely and utterly brainwashed, and they've got no idea about what's going on anyway. I mean, I'm not on about the training, because I know they get zero training, but I mean, they have literally no idea what a law is, never mind what the law is. But, and then they're running around, And that's when you know you're getting old, and all these policemen are all too young. They're all sitting with phones, man. I'm just gonna speak to me sergeant. You know,
Yeah.
oh Jesus, come on.
I know.
But anyway,
I mean, I know some ex-police. Some of my friends are actually ex-police, and they got into it for the right reasons. They thought they were actually going to, get criminals, catch pedophiles and all the rest of it. That's what they thought they were going to do, and then they realized, well, that's not what it's about. And then they realized what they're actually doing, and then we've got to get out. So, see, if you're a good person and you actually join the police, you get pushed out. You won't make it to superintendent.
No way.
It's not happening.
I mean, like back in the 80s, like when I was like in the Royal Navy, and we would travel for the last 18 months of it anyway. I was in the Fishery Protection Squadron. So, we're like based all around the north, the British Isles, and we'd be boarding the fishing boats and, doing all this stuff with that and whatever EU regulations probably. But, you just got on with it. You did what you did. And everywhere we were stopping, we would always go and have social events with the police, and it would be a game of football. It would be a game bowling sometimes, not, like the old fashioned thing, the little ones, and it would have been in their social club, but most of them were all ex-forces.
Right.
This is back, in the early 80s, and a lot of them were ex-forces, and we used to play rugby with them. Honestly, I mean, everyone was really battering the crap out of each other, but we used to have some great times, though. And then they'd take you into their social club, and they would be buying you drinks all day, whatever it was. But they were all proper people. They were like real men, if you want to put it that way. Just gonna let the dog out. There you go. And but a lot of them were ex-forces, but now, right, it's completely the opposite. It's like, they all bringing them in as as young as possible with virtually no training, and it's it's 100% indoctrination of being a policy enforcement officer. It's not a police constable or anything like it, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with crime. It's just all about you are targeted for a certain percentage of your target to bring that finance money in for the corporation. Get your fine book out. Well, I haven't got one. I'll just have to get this thing in president. Man.
That's what these policy enforcers do. And the thing is they are actually selling you back your own credit. So the way it works is, So of course, your live birth certificate creates the credit, goes to the Treasury. The Treasury is supposed to pay, is the debtor. They're supposed to pay that back, but they don't want to. So they pass this debt down the chain, if you like, within government, goes to different agencies. And the one on the bottom is your police officer. And the way to understand this is like a deck of cards. So if you look at a deck of cards, you've got the ace, and then you've got the king, queen, jack, and then it goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way down to number 2. Well, the ace at the top, that's you, that's sovereign. You create the credit. And then you've got the king and queen, that's the monarch. And then you've got the jack, that's the government, prime minister. And then you've got all the various agencies. And the number 2 on the bottom is the police officer. And they're trying to get that ace, which is you, down the bottom, ace is low, to then pay the debt back. Right? Now, if that policeman can't do it, he's on the hook because he has to then pay the debt back. Well, that's what they're doing. They go, oh, you're not wearing your seatbelt. You've got a fine. They're tricking you into actually accepting your own credit back and paying the debt.
I know.
In layman's terms.
Yeah. No. It's like, oh, look, I love going over. We can't go into it now. Going over the trust and the set of KV and all of that kind of stuff. But, and anyway, we're just going to completely blow everybody's minds far too much. When all we wanted to do was say, look, come along on a Thursday and we'll start teaching how to do a notice. But
we're starting off easy.
Yeah, exactly. We could be talking literally. You could go on for where we did the other night, didn't we? Like for hours and hours. But let's just go over again. So you got the Sovereign Project, okay, which is www.thesovereignproject.live.
Yep.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of free information on there, and you can get the documents from there, they said, as well, the paperwork and that.
You can download it all. I am creating new documents every week. Once I've completed it, it will be uploaded to the website. So we'll have affidavits on there, and we'll have the lien process as well. We're going to be putting that together, and it will show you how you can do the lien process on your own. So it's done in easily English. It's very simple. You get a little title and a small paragraph, and it'll explain what it is. Boom. You know, after a couple of weeks of reading it, you should be up to date.
Excellent. And I'll get links up on all my sites as well. Let's send it over there. So it'd be good for people to, like, you know, have a look and see the difference in the paperwork, and, you know, like, have a look on theirs, and, you know, pick and match, and it'd be good. Anyway, I'm going to have a look myself as well. Make sure everyone else does. And 7 o'clock on every Thursday as well in Leicester, when you actually meet live and chat and help each other and learn things, and you share your knowledge.
Yes, that's it. I don't teach anything. And by the way, I never tell anybody what to do. I can't do that. I'll show you how it works. And then the person has to make their own decision. They've got to act on it or not. It's their choice. But I talk, people listen. I don't teach.
Well, there you go. All right. So, you know, if can they get, like, through to you, like, on the Sovereign Project Live on where the venue is and things like that?
Yeah, you can do. Like I say, the easiest way, probably go through the Facebook, private Facebook page. Well, we have a page which is open to the public, and we also have the fraternity group, which is private. But you can get into that. I mean, I do have a couple of people that do all the emails, and we get a lot of emails, by the way. So we do what we can. Also, please, anyone watching this, please don't send us anything about your personal problems. Like, you know, I'm going to court next week. What do I do? We don't have the staff to do that. You know, we've got letters all over, you know, emails from, like, Australia and all this, and we're going, oh my God, you know, we just don't have the staff to reply to all these emails. So as long as the emails are very quick, there's 2 emails on there, which is general inquiries, just simple stuff, you know, which is the sovereignproject@gmail.com. And if you'd like to do some sort of collaboration with us, you know, if you're doing your own sovereign group or health group or whatever it is, if you'd like to get in touch with us, or if you'd like to do a podcast or something like that, then contact the collaboration team, which is the email for that is sovereignteam@protonmail.com. So that's for collaborations. And bear with us, you know, if you do send us an email, it might take us a few days to get back to you. So we do what we can.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Well, so hopefully everybody got that. If not, rewind it, listen again there, make some notes, and then you know, you can contact them if you've got any of those, either general inquiries or you want to be doing something extra with them. But you know, you've got the actual Thursday night live, but also on the sovereignproject.live, you know, and get all the information, then start you know, building up this this whole movement, and our sort of like freedom movement, if you want to call it that, and everybody helping each other and working together, because that's the only way that we're actually going to get back on track and to get rid of all this crap, that's this legal stuff and these acts and governments, really, because they're completely unnecessary. You know, we don't need them. They need us, right? But we certainly don't need them, because we can look after ourselves. We can handle our own affairs. And if we help each other do it as well, then, you know, we're going to be far, far better off, aren't we?
Absolutely correct. And that's what a democratic society is. It has no central government. We govern ourselves.
The true democracy.
True, yes. Not this pirate democracy that's been putting on us. But we can go into that another time.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for that then, Pete. And I'm sure that we'll do it again. And like I say, everybody there, make sure that you check out all the links that we'll put below. And thank you very much. Enjoy.
Bye then.
Okay, cool. And